Raptors now 1 win away from Toronto's first NBA title. However, it would not be Kawhi's first title since he won back in 2014 with the Spurs. Kawhi is also the favorite to win Finals MVP again. In 2014, he was named MVP after averaging around 18 points, 6 boards for the Spurs while playing some solid defense. Shannon, how much more impressive do you think this Finals MVP would be for Kawhi?
Well, that puts him in exclusive company. He'll be one of 3 men to win MVPs at 2 different locales. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar obviously won one in Milwaukee in '71, and then he won another with the Lakers in the '80s. LeBron James won 2 with the Miami Heat in 12 and 13, and then he won his 1 in 16 with the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so if Kawhi were to do this, this would be a very, very historic feat for him. And considering, Skip, on that championship team in the finals, he averaged 9.8 shots a game. That's a slight tick above Manu, who averaged 9.6. He was the 4th option. As Jen read in the read, he averaged 18 points and 6 rebounds. It was more of a Iggy-type MVP because he held LeBron James. I don't think the people at home realize this. He held LeBron James to 28 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists a game. LeBron shot 57% from the field, 52% from the 3. Can you imagine that? And you win Finals MVP?
Nope.
That was because D-Wade was a little banged up at that point in time. He was not the D-Wade from a few years earlier. He averaged 15 points a game. Chris Bosh averaged 14 points a game. And so they were able to whitewash the the Miami Heat, and Kawhi Leonard won it because the first 2 games, he didn't even have double figures in points. Skip, this would be huge because as a 4th option on a team that was the epitome of a team, he's the de facto leader. He's the de facto superstar. He would have put this team on his back and led them to a finals against a team that was going for a 3-peat. And even though they're down a man, they were still a formidable opponent, considering they have a 2-time league MVP, a 3-point champ on their roster, and a defensive player of the year. So this would be huge, huge on his resume, and it would start to put Kawhi in a different, people will look at him. They know he's a superstar now, Skip, but as his career starts to progress and when he's all said and done, we would definitely look at Kawhi in a different light if he were to pull this off.
I'm sorry, but I've got to disqualify number 2 from having won a Finals MVP in the first city because I don't see how he won it. I think we should take it back right here, right now. You were heading down the right path on this because I'm thinking, wait a second. In the first 2 games in San Antonio, and it only went 5 games, in the first 2 in San Antonio, he scores 9 points and 9 points. They won 1 and lost 1. Okay, so did he lead the Spurs in scoring for the 5? No, Tony Parker was slightly above him, so he averaged 17.8. Tony averaged 18. Did he lead the team in rebounding? No, he was 3rd in rebounding because Tim Duncan averaged 15.4 points and 10 rebounds. That's pretty great. Did he lead in plus-minus? No, he was 3rd on the team in plus-minus because Manu Ginobili was a plus 83 in the 5 games. That's just like off the charts great.
Yeah.
And did he lead in assists? No, he was tied for 4th on the Spurs in assists in that series. So how did he win the MVP? Did he suffocate LeBron James? Did he snuff him out? Nope. LeBron, to your point, you keep reminding me, he went 28 and 8. Now, the 4 assists for LeBron were low, but you can make a case he just didn't have enough help, right?
Guys could hit shots, or that would have been higher.
Okay, and meanwhile, LeBron's team was getting blown off the floor by a record finals margin. Plus 72 points were the Spurs in the 5 games because they won game 1 by 15, game 3 and 4 in Miami by 19 and 21, and then the closeout game back in San Antonio by 17. It was a wipeout. And the Spurs set the all-time finals record for making shots from the field at 52%, and they did make 46% of their threes. And yet LeBron, shackled by Kawhi Leonard, as I kept hearing during the series, look at what he did. LeBron, to your point, he made 14 of 27 three-point shots. When has he ever done that? That's sensational. That's 52%. Would you believe that LeBron, from the free throw line in that series, shot 79%, 23 of 29, yet they lost by a record finals margin? And so it's like, well, who do you give the MVP? Do you just flip a coin? Because I don't know. Patty Mills made the most three-point shots on the team with 13. Should he have been in the running? Maybe.
Well, Tim, you could have easily given it Skip because you mentioned Tim Duncan was 15 and 10. Yeah. He was a double-double.
Okay.
You could have given it to him, or you could have given it to Tony Parker.
Okay. So when that series was over, and I'm a Spurs nut, I couldn't even remember that number 2 played for my team. It's like, was he in this series? Oh, wait, he got the MVP. I guess he did play in this series. I don't know.
I was surprised. Honestly, I really thought Tim Duncan was going to get it. I had no idea that Kawhi Leonard would be the MVP. Now, he did pick it up in games 3, 4, and 5. But considering that how much ground he had given up in the first 2 by just averaging 9, I was like, there's no way he was. Actually, he was never even a thought. I thought it was going to be between Tony Parker and Tim Duncan. It never even dawned on me that Kawhi Leonard, until they actually called his name, that he was going to be Finals MVP.
Okay, and I'm going to say this one last time. That series was tied 1-1 going to Miami. And in games 3 and 4, LeBron looked weirdly disengaged, like he wasn't into it like he usually is. I didn't see him attack the way he usually attacks. He scored 22 in game 3 and 28 in game 4, and they just got blown off their home floor, and that was the end of that deal. So I'm just not sure. It didn't seem to have anything to do with hellacious great defense. I think LeBron was looking around saying, I just don't think I got enough here. I can't compete.
Well, first of all, you guys forgot to pay your bills, and so you turned the heat up. There was no air conditioner working in the AT&T or wherever you play at.
Yep.
And so LeBron almost had a heat stroke. He cramped up because he had – look at you. That's a shame, Skip, better talk about you loved it. You know what happened because LeBron James was giving y'all that work until he started suffering from those cramps.
It was the cramp game, and of all the players who played in that game, I don't know how many total played, like close to maybe 20 players. Only one cramped. Only one cramped. Would you believe that guy LeBron was the only guy who cramped?
But you know what, Skip? I think he was one of the few guys that had on tights. You know, a lot of these guys wear tights up under their uniform.
Compression
and so
tights.
That might have played. Yes. And so that might have played because it was a lot hotter than normal. Maybe he didn't get the proper hydration. Maybe the sweat, he couldn't recool his body. But for whatever the case, now now all of a sudden you want to believe that he did cramp because before you said, oh, how could he cramp? So what was LeBron James doing that no one else was doing?
Maybe he had psychological cramps. You ever heard of those?
No, Skip, there you go. No, I have not ever heard of those.
Yep. I just made it up because it sounded good.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. You must have been the doctors that was looking at Kevin Durant's MRI because they just made it up about his calf being injured and not his Achilles.
Yeah. So let's fast forward to what we've seen so far from number 2 in these 5 games.
Okay.
We have seen outstanding from him in 1, right? And what's the next one? 3 and 4, right?
3 and 4?
1, 3, and 4.
Yes.
We've seen outstanding. But in the 2 losses, in 2 and 5, down the stretch, we have not seen outstanding. I'm going to continue to say this thing should be long gone over if he had closed the deal.
Yeah, it could have been over in 4.
It easily could have been over because in game 2, remember, Steph down the stretch of game 2, they lose Clay with 8 minutes left. Steph goes 0 for 0 down the stretch. He can't even get a shot up. They're playing the janky defense, box and 1. But meanwhile, it's up to number 2 it's your house. It's your new house. Might be your old house next year. But the point is, you just close that deal. And remember, he went 0 for 3 from 3 in the last 8 minutes. And then in the last minute and a half, he missed 2 jump shots that could have won the game. He did make 2 scoring plays that were controversial because the first one, I thought he had an offensive elbow foul on Draymond. He just elbowed him out of the way, but he got away with an and 1. And then the last 2-minute report, the NBA admitted that a foul should not have been called on DeMarcus Cousins when he reached in and stripped number 2 of the basketball. There's 2 more free throws.
But this is what we've seen Kawhi through the entirety of the playoffs. He have yet to put together back-to-back games by your standard, what we would consider a bad game.
And by the way,
and consider it.
In Game 5 the other night, he had a Jordan-esque flurry, but then the last 3:28, he went quiet, all too quiet. And if he just made one shot down the stretch, it's over. We're not even having this conversation. So let's keep it in perspective. He's cost his team a couple of games. Is tonight the one where he pays them back?
He'll deliver.
You think so?
He will deliver. 30 and 10. He will get that tonight, and he will be Finals MVP, and the Toronto Raptors will no longer be known as the baby dinosaurs.
You better hope.
30 and 10. I'm writing it down. We will find out tonight and talk about it, I'm sure, tomorrow morning. Meanwhile, somebody we've been talking a lot about as of late, Rich Paul. Is he now the most powerful man in the NBA? We'll discuss
Richie.
that up next.
Oh, Richie.
And I won't back down.